One of my friends always says they have great products and services, but unfortunately, when it comes to meeting client customers, his sales team fades into the background when the spotlight hits. In this episode, we are going to discover the secrets to turning your team from invisible to influential, mastering the art of commanding any room and closing deals with full of confidence. And remember, influence is not given, it's earned. Stay tuned.
Welcome, listeners. Today we are delighted to bring you another inspiring episode of Tahaddi, the podcast dedicated to helping you enhance your management skills and navigate your career journey. Your host, Sameh Makky, your go-to expert in project management and career coaching. Every Wednesday, we invite esteemed guests to join us and share valuable insights from their respective industries. They will provide unique perspectives and practical advice, leaving us all with a nugget of wisdom to apply in our personal and professional lives. Newcomers to our show, don't forget to hit the subscribe button to ensure you stay updated with every new release. Now, let's kick off today's engaging discussion. Stay tuned.
Hello and most welcome everyone. I'm truly excited to have you in this episode. Whether you are tuning in live or catching up later, your voice matters. Let's build this conversation together. We are talking today about very important topic in my perspective, and I'm sure that it matters to most of you regarding communication and building charisma, if we can say building charisma. Our tonight's guest is a charisma expert in business success. She is the founder and CEO of Nummu Academy, a TEDx speaker and an influential author. She believes that charisma isn't just a personal talent, it's a powerful driver of team success in closing deals. She empowers team to communicate with presence and confidence, turning clients' interactions into revenue and growth. And her unique message, which is mentioned on her LinkedIn account, transform every member of your team into someone memorable, influential, and capable of building strong relationships and delivering results. Please, if you can join me in welcoming our tonight's guest, Nawal Fagir. Nawal, most welcome.
What a lovely introduction. Thanks a lot. Really excited to be here.
Thanks a lot for your presence and accepting our invitation, and I'm sure that it will be fruitful discussion to many of the people in the marketplace.
Oh, for sure. It's so important. It's one of these underrated skills that people don't really pay attention to when they think of communication or charisma. They think of, oh, it means being fake. It means going over the top. It means being loud. At this point, I've literally made it my life mission to show you that no, communication could literally be the most important skill you learn because it helps you. It doesn't matter if you're an employee, if you've got your own business, if you're a coach, if you're a student even. It doesn't matter what you want to do in life. If you can't communicate your value, then you will not reach your full potential.
Exactly. I can't agree more actually about what you are saying right now. I would like to say thank you to everyone joined us now on the live. Anyone who is going to join us during the episode or anyone who is joining us later, please feel free to leave your thoughts, questions, and reflection throughout so we can get the answers and the reflection as well and the feedback from Nawal. Nawal, before getting into our discussion, 3-4 months ago we have conducted an episode with with one of our esteemed guests talking about charisma and communication as well, and he claimed that at that time charisma is something not developed. We cannot develop the charisma in our personality, and it's not a trait. It's a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And
Mhm. Oh, there
So
we
sorry
go.
for that. So sorry for that. Yes, okay, just a minute. Yes. Yes, okay. Now we are here. Sorry for this disconnection.
No worries.
Yes. So I was telling you that he claimed at that episode that charisma is not developed, and if you have it, that is fine. If you don't have it, don't search for it because it's a gift from Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, and you can get this, or you cannot develop this charisma. What can you reply for Engineer Muhammad Abdul Atif? Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that is a statement that a lot of people believe, but I completely disagree with it. I mean, growing up, I literally used to be the shyest person ever. Like when guests would come at home, speaking up in class, anywhere I would go, I would literally be so quiet. I would not want to share my thoughts. And this is something that I've seen with many people. The reason I think that charisma is something that can be built is because it's literally just a set of traits that you can learn and then you can implement them once. And I might even take it further and say most skills in life are things that can be learned. All you have to do is literally just break them down into steps, and then it makes things easier. For example, what makes someone charismatic? We can say making other people comfortable. Okay, and then you break it down. All right, what makes other people comfortable? Smiling at them, asking about them, not making everything about you, being friendly, being approachable, at the same time being competent, being good at what you do. So all of it, yes, it sounds a bit complex because it's like so many skills packed into one big word like charisma. But at the end of the day, once you learn each one of them, you just become someone who's charismatic because you're following these little steps. So I do believe that it's something that people can learn. And from some of the people I coached, young students up to professionals, CEOs, it most definitely is something that can be learned and implemented. People think that to be charismatic, you just need to be loud, you need to be extroverted. That's not true. Even introverts can be charismatic because it's not about, again, it's not about being loud. It's not about making everything about you. It's about how you make people feel and then how you can convince and influence people after you build that relationship.
Wow. Okay. If I'm going to agree with you on your opinion, when I'm asked about language and enhancing the language skill, I tell people that it takes time, maybe 1 year to 2 years, for instance, to be strong enough to talk and communicate freely. Do you believe that the charisma takes that much of time?
I think it definitely depends on the person. There are a lot of kind of scenarios that you need to prepare for. It does take time. But when I look at some of the people that I coached, I noticed that the what takes the most time is not the skill itself of, let's say, smiling when people come in the room, learning different personality types, how to connect with them. It's surprisingly the mindset. Shifting the mindset to someone who is charismatic is what takes the majority of the time. And the same thing is when I used to train students in public speaking, it's literally the same. When I would teach them, let's say, body language and expressions and all of these little tricks that you can do to sound great on stage, that would literally just take a few hours a week, sometimes even less, and they would be superstars. What would take time is shifting their mindset to, first of all, getting them to believe that, one, this is a skill that they can have to begin with. It's something that they can do. There are challenges that they can overcome, helping them really kind of not care what people think, get over that awkward stage that comes with learning any new skill. That I think is what takes time. So the more resilient someone is and the more they're willing to deal with that kind of awkward stage of being afraid, the quicker they'll learn it.
Wow, awesome. Yani it does mean that it depends more on adaptability, flexibility, changing mindset quickly. For instance, it will help a lot actually to shorten the period of time.
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
Awesome. Like, since now we are coming, to talk about sales skills and communication as well. What does it mean to have a team which has an impact in today's world?
hmm To have an impact or to be influential, in my opinion, is not about the title. You could be a CEO, you could be an intern, you could be a student. The title does not matter. It's about how you present yourself and your ability to inspire people to take action. So the first step is to have people, first of all, listen to you and be interested in what it is that you have to say, what it is that you have to offer. And then the second step is to have people actually do what you want them to do. So from a sales perspective, it would be have people buy, actually, invest in your company, take up your offer, listen to you, give you a raise, promote you at work. So it's a mix of being listened to and then getting people to actually take action once they listen to you.
Okay, awesome. Nawal, in the marketplace, and as I told about my friend at the beginning of the episode, he has a team, and he believes in their capabilities, their calibers. They have much of competences, if we can say, but at the same time, when we come to sales, uh, they are unnoticed.
Mm-hmm.
Why is this a challenge is available? Some people competent, but at the same time, they don't have much of influence.
Yeah, for sure. So if we were to talk about it in general, why so many people might be great at what they do, but they still go unnoticed, I would go back and say that it's communication. A lot of people nowadays focus on the technical skills. For example, I want to be the best engineer out there. But then when you think about it, sometimes in many scenarios, people who are not necessarily the best in a workplace, in an environment, in a society, still get to the top, not because they're the best, but because they are the most charismatic and they are the ones that can communicate their values best. So when it comes to being noticed, it's literally all about showing your value. And then when we link it into sales, it gets a little bit more complex because it's not just about showing your value, but it's about presenting it in a way that the person you're talking to is going to also understand. And then we can also talk about this and the different personality types. But if you're, let's say, in a scenario where you're trying to close a deal, you're trying to close a sale, you would have to understand, okay, what type of person am I talking to? And how do I have to communicate to get them on my side? Because one technique that might work with someone might not work with someone else.
Okay, I see. I'd like to say thank you to Ms. Heba Mohsen, who joined us recently. Thanks a lot for your time and your joining. Um, if we can go directly to charisma and communication, how do charisma and communication help us or help any team, especially for sales, to build the the connection and the trust between them and the client or customers they are dealing with?
For sure. So there are so many different ways to do this. First of all, it increases motivation. When you're charismatic, you kind of step out of just trying to be impressive, trying to make yourself look like a know-it-all, and more about focusing on who you're talking to and what they need. Something I started saying recently is if you get on stage and you're, let's say, too nervous about, looking good, sometimes it can be you're too focus on yourself, which kind of in a way makes you selfish. So you might think, oh, I'm on stage, I'm trying to be impressive, which means I care what people think of me, which means I want to serve them. But in reality, you're not even focused on what the audience wants. You're way too focused on yourself and how you appear. So it's literally about thinking, okay, how can I engage the audience? How can I provide the most value to them? And then it goes from there. There's actually a little exercise that I like to do where I would read out two different ideas just to show you the difference that, let's say, being charismatic or presenting well, communicating effectively can do. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to suggest two ideas to you. Let's say we work as a company, we're colleagues, and I go to Sameh and I think I'm telling him, okay, can we get this idea done? Which one would you be more likely to agree to? All right, let's try.
I didn't get exactly the last statement you have said. If you can repeat it again, since I was engaged with one of the challenges mentioned in the chat box by Coach Muhammad, which I'm going to ask you after this discussion directly. Yes.
Awesome, sounds great. So I'm going to read two ideas that
Okay.
I'm be suggesting to you, and you just tell me which one you will be more likely to, let's say, listen to and accept.
Yes. Go ahead.
Awesome. So this is number one. Just pay attention to how I present it, how I show up, all of that. One, look, if we want to stay competitive and keep growing, we have to streamline how we work. Right now, studies show that companies lose up to 30% of their revenue every year because of inefficiencies in their process. If we fix this, we're talking faster turnaround times, happier customers, boosting productivity. Research even shows that streamlined operations can cut costs by 20 to 30%. They can increase profitability by as much as 40%. I think it's a win-win. It's less stress for us, more value for the client. So what's really stopping us?
Okay, this is the first idea.
Mhm.
Yes, okay.
Now, two.
Second scenario. Yes, okay.
All right, team, hear me out. What if we rolled out a spin the wheel promotion where customers literally spin a wheel and pay whatever price it lands on? It's quirky, it's fun, and it taps into that thrill factor that people love. Just think about it. Every spin is a set prize, and who doesn't love a good set prize? Some customers could get a crazy discount, while others might pay double. It adds excitement, unpredictability, and this kind of promotion could get people talking about us. They would share their spins on social media, they would bring in more traffic, and it's not just about the deal, it's about creating an experience. People are more likely to remember something like this, and that kind of buzz can lead to even more loyal customers down the line. We'd stand out from competition, we'll make our brand a lot more memorable, and it's a win win. What do you think?
Yes. Two characters, يعني the first one I was much frustrated. The thoughts, all of the thoughts presented were negative. Even the way of talking actually put me on the corner of the fence, for instance, or putting me in a difficult corner. The second one is completely opposite to every item now I have mentioned.
Oh, for sure. And the crazy thing is, this is something that a lot of people call an unfair advantage at work, where people who just speak more confidently, they're more animated, they get listened to more. Because if we were to, let's say, analyze it, in the first one, it might have had more facts, more statistics. It sounded like a good idea backed with research. But because I said it in a boring way that is not charismatic, that doesn't think about what the audience might be thinking, no one's going to actually listen, no matter how much research I put into it. And this is the trap that most professionals fall into. The second idea, even though it's literally insane, like imagine spinning your wheel and just paying whatever price it lands on, it's something that is literally crazy. But because I presented it in a way that makes it sound good, I get people's attention.
Exactly.
And therefore,
It came like a positive. Yes, that's right.
yeah, for sure.
Yes, that's right. Also the first, or at the beginning, when you presented much of the thoughts, I'm sure that if I concentrated more and more on the details you have seen, maybe it's applicable to say. But the way and the tone took me in a very negative channel.
Yeah, for sure.
Exactly. Right. I have a challenge, and Coach Muhammad Yunus also has a pure challenge. My challenge is when I listen to your TEDx speech, you have mentioned that sometimes you feel you need to be like a chameleon while you are communicating with others, and especially clients. And I feel that when one of the challenge faced or encountered by the sales team, many different personality of the customer and the clients, how they can manage that, how can they mirror this personality from time to time, or should we do that even, or we shouldn't, and we should be ourselves with much of authenticity, like what you have mentioned there.
Yeah. In sales, I would say being a chameleon and kind of trying to adapt to what's happening in the room would be extremely helpful, because you're dealing with a lot of different buyers, a lot of different personality types. So a rule of thumb that I go with is always just come one energy level higher than the room. So you're still, being charismatic, you're adding energy, but not like by a whole lot. So if you come in a room and people are, let's say, discussing, a business plan, everyone's really quiet, you might just come in and say, hey, everyone, how's it going? But they're already, really upbeat and laughing and talking really loudly. When you come with more energy, again, once you kind of add that excitement to the room, you add that energy, you add these good vibes, that's what makes you more charismatic. So I would definitely say, yes, be a chameleon, but try to add a bit of energy to your discussions.
Okay, and be authentic as well. Yani chameleon doesn't mean that I will not be a real person, or I will try to present fake status, for instance, to match the client personality. That's right.
Oh, absolutely. In sales, I would say you need to kind of understand what type of person you're dealing with and then kind of change your communication method to best suit them. I'll give you an example. Knowing this, and also before not knowing it, was the reason I lost literally like six-figure deals. And that is, you need to understand someone's personality type and try not to kind of clash with it. So let's use an example of there's the alpha personality. I'm sure we've all dealt with this, at work or, in sales calls where someone would come in, they're always interrupting you. They just want, my way or the highway, everything that I say is correct. You're just a salesperson. I don't believe anything you say. So these types of people, if you go in a discussion and you try to, let's say, tell them what to do, it doesn't matter how kind of, obviously being charismatic helps a lot, but if you just tell them what to do, it doesn't really work out. So you need to be strategic and, let's say, suggest something to them and get them to think that it's their idea. So what I would do, instead of telling them, hey, the reason you should buy this product is because of XYZ, they're not going to listen to me. They'll just be thinking, what do you know? Because it's their personality type. Some people are just like that, and there's nothing you can do. So what I would do is I would say something along the lines of, all right, obviously it seems like you have been doing this business for a really long time. You know exactly, you have the most contacts, you're the CEO, all the problems going on. Why don't you think that, it's been resolved up to this point? Or what have you tried? You might have tried many things before. So then they explain to you what they've done previously, and you're subconsciously leading them to the decision that you want them to think, except you're not saying to them that, hey, do this, but you're asking them questions that will make them lead themselves to the decision you want, which is buying the product or the service.
This approach actually is utilized much by the career coaches who are advising their coaches if they have managers with autocratic approach or style or something like this. So they don't have to say the idea direct like this. We have to do 1, 2, 3. You have to suggest, and after that get the feedback in the same direction you need actually, and you can go ahead directly. Yes.
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
I fully agree. Type. There is a challenge by Mr. Coach Muhammad Yunus saying, your question, how can one become charismatic? If I feel that I'm not a charismatic person and I would like to develop those this set of skills, what can I do in the steps?
The first step, I would say, is try to think of things from the perspective of the person you're talking to. So right now you might think, okay, when I go into a discussion, I want to seem impressive. I want to seem like I've got all of these accomplishments. I want to seem like I know what I'm doing. But you are going to completely shift it so that you make the other person feel that way. Because once again, charisma is not about how impressive you sound, how impressive you look, all of the accomplishments you have. It's about what you can do to make other people feel that way. Because people remember you the most. And funny enough, people think you're charismatic when you make them feel charismatic. So you are going to do this rule where you are going to listen a lot more than you speak. So you are going to be asking a lot of questions. And this is something you do really well, Sameh. You will ask a lot more questions than you kind of respond to. And you will ask, let's say, follow-up questions, ask things that you know the person loves to talk about. For example, I know that you love podcasting, so I'm going to ask you about your podcast and, the guests that you've had. And then this is something that you love talking about. So it just puts you in a great mood. And then you're also in a mood where you can respond. And that's how you think, I'm charismatic and I would make you feel charismatic. And you just leave the conversation feeling really, really good. So instead of focusing on how I can make myself feel good, think of what can I do to make my guest, the person I'm talking to, my client feel good, and have them leave remembering me as someone who just instilled all of these positive emotions in them.
Wow, yani, that means you did so with me offline, actually, asking me about the what I like to do,
Yeah, the interesting thing is, once you get used to it, it just becomes second nature, and it just becomes fun.
That's right.
Yeah, 100%. You just notice that it just makes your life a lot more interesting. I mean, you get along with people more. You just feel a better connection with, everyone you talk to. It just makes life a lot more fun, in my opinion.
I can't agree more actually, and I'm sure that when you practice one, two, three, four times, and so on, you will get that naturally after that, and you will,
Mhm.
make it unconsciously.
Mhm.
Mr. Qasim is saying influenced communication. The second one for sure. Coach Muhammad, our professional in customer experience, Mr. Mamdouh Munir is saying that you got my attention with second ideas for sure, with full of energy. Thank you so much, Mr. Basim Muhammad. Thank you so much for joining us today. Also, yes, Mr. Mudassir is saying that. Let's see here what he has written. Yes, an inspiring episode. Thanks a lot. The transformation of teams from invisible to influential doesn't happen by chance. It's the result of conscious leadership, genuine empowerment, and messages delivered with clarity and confidence. Yes, thank you so much. Type Nawal, you know, one of the biggest challenges I feel that I can face while I'm talking with people in communication, and especially when we talk about influence and how to influence others
Mhm.
regarding fear of judgment. When I'm
Mm.
getting to the room, I will think twice and three and four and five times before saying any word or any question, so the people how they will judge my thoughts and question. Maybe they will say that what is this simple and silly question, for instance, how to overcome this challenge.
Yeah, for sure. That's something that is so common with people at literally every level. Everyone faces this. I like to talk about it in terms of three mindset shifts that are really powerful, to help you not care what people think and just kind of really step into your power. The first one being realizing that everyone is a human being. So everyone makes mistakes just like you do. And I know it's so easy to think that if I mess up my speech or if I say the wrong thing or if I make a mistake, everyone's going to remember it and it's just going to be this horrible thing. Which leads to my next point, which is people are self centered creatures, which means that people focus on themselves a lot more than they can focus on you. For example, imagine you just mess up your speech. You might be thinking about it for weeks, for months. When you're about to go to bed at night, you're like, oh my God, I messed this up really badly. That was so embarrassing. But you wouldn't think the same about someone else's speech. You probably wouldn't even remember it. And even if you do remember their mistakes, you just think that it's so irrelevant because
Half
you
an
have
hour or something like this, you will remember it. After that, you will forget what happened on the stage completely.
exactly. So this helps a lot. I mean, it's so easy to just kind of have a magnifying glass in ourselves all the time and to think that our mistakes are just so big, but everyone thinks the same. So while you're focused on your mistakes, other people are focused on their own. So once you kind of think of it this way, it helps a lot. And then finally, in number three, realizing how fun things get when you just kind of let go. And there's a rule that I've been practicing a lot recently, which is kind of the rule of detachment and letting things be. You don't have to impress anyone. You don't have to chase someone in a sale. You don't have to sound smart. You just come and you genuinely do your best, but don't be too attached to an outcome. If you're attached to an outcome, whatever that outcome is, be it, collecting money from a sale, having your boss think you're impressive or cool, or, appearing really great on a TV show, you are associating your value with that specific outcome. But once you associate it with your input, which is what can I do right now to show up as the best version of myself, to be aligned with my values, regardless of what anyone else says, this is what really puts you in a zone where you are just so sure of yourself and nothing affects you as much.
Wow, awesome. Yes, Bassem is saying we often hear that self-confidence is a secret of charisma, but in team, how can individual confidence turn into a collective power that convinces clients or investors on the team level?
Hmm. Yeah, that's a really great question.
Yes.
The great thing about confidence is and charisma is it is something that is almost contagious. So when you see someone else being confident, someone else being charismatic, it really inspires you to also do the same. especially if there's actually a charismatic leader. There was a study that said that um, once teams listen to a charismatic speech, I think it was a company where they would kind of pack envelopes. Once they listen to a charismatic speech, they actually pack 17% more envelopes than if they just had a normal kind of standard speech, which literally shows that sometimes motivating people by being a charismatic leader and really speaking, energy and life into them can be almost as effective as motivating them with the reminder of a compensation, like actual money. So this is definitely an untapped skill that a lot of leaders can do to help in convincing their team, which later translates that energy into convincing clients and investors and putting people in the right state to get the best
Ah,
results.
okay. I remember that I have heard a sentence or statement recently regarding if you are, sitting only next to one influential and has this kind of charisma and communication, what you are talking about today, you will feel, more positivity with 15% of what you have already. So if you have one or two or three persons within the team, I'm sure that their energy actually,
Mhm.
will fill the room.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes, okay. طيب Nawal, for sales team or any other team, from time to time we pass by setbacks, shortcomings, challenges, difficulties. For instance, how to save and keep us confident and present as well in front or you know against those difficulties.
Mhm. In sales, it helps a lot to kind of remember your power and the value that you bring. Because I feel like, as salespeople, or even if you're, let's say, a business owner, you're trying to sell your services, you might think that you sometimes come across as someone who's desperate. I'm trying to close a deal. I need to hit my targets. So it really takes a toll on some people. But once you remind yourself of the value of the product or the service that you have, it just changes everything. And it goes from me, let's say, almost begging someone to buy my services and to buy what I have to offer, to presenting it to them as a solution. Like, you have a problem, you're, let's say, coming to me on a one-on-one meeting or a consultation to try to see, maybe the prices, to see how we can help you. But at the end of the day, you have a problem that I can fix, which is why we're having this conversation to begin with. So the something that helps a lot, and again, with us also as coaches, I mean, you do your career coaching, I do my communication, reminding yourself that you've got a really valuable skill or product or service that can genuinely help people. It just changes the dynamic. And especially if, let's say, you're in a meeting with, let's say, a CEO or an investor or someone who, let's say, might have a really high status, just reminding yourself that it's all in the energy. Once you come in a meeting and you start saying things like, "Oh my God, thank you so much. I really, appreciate you taking the time." It really shows in the energy once, let's say, someone comes across as desperate, and especially in high stakes deals with, a lot of money on the line, you really need to kind of come across as minimum, like the same level of influence, even higher. And once again, that doesn't come from your title, doesn't come from how much money you make. It comes with how you present yourself. So remind yourself of the value you provide, and just think, never put anyone on a pedestal, no matter how influential they are, no matter how much money they make. At the end of the day, you have a solution that they need.
Okay, that is great. I remember your word right now regarding don't attach yourself as well also to the results which you are going to get. I will take one word from Coach Muhammad saying that interesting. So it's mainly about being empathetic, and I will ask you right now regarding emotional intelligence and its effects on charisma. Mostly when we talk about charisma and confidence, we feel that we are talking only about ourselves,
Mm.
but how emotional intelligence and getting to be aware about others while we are dealing with them affecting our charisma and our also confidence.
Yeah, that's a really, really good point. A lot of it is about being empathetic as well. And this is something I always talk about. I mean, obviously, one aspect of charisma is how you present yourself, how you make people feel, but you also need to be aware of how people are reacting to it. Like, I'll give you an example. I go to a lot of networking events and I love to go around and talk to people. Sometimes I would, let's say, go up to someone. and it seems like they literally just don't want to talk. So no matter how charismatic I seem, they're literally just not in the mood to talk. So even if I try to make them seem comfortable, even if I try to, let's say, compliment them, get them to talk about something they like, it's just not going to work. So you need to really study kind of someone's facial expression, their body language. Do they look like they're open to having a conversation? And you can see it if, let's say, their body is leaning towards you, more likely that they're open. If they're kind of, facing away, giving you kind of side eyes, they seem uncomfortable, giving short answers, then it's probably best to kind of, reconnect another time. Sometimes people actually do want to talk to you. They might just be nervous. So let's say slowing down when you come up to someone, telling them, right off the bat what you want to talk about, so you don't get them to, overthink it. So essentially, yeah, being empathetic and putting yourself in people's shoes helps a lot in, being charismatic, making people feel good.
Wow, it's awesome, really. I know. Recently I have seen a reel on Instagram. It was very touching. And it was something recorded in a corridor of government sector building. And when I think of the client or citizens coming, and he was very nervous on the face of the employee working there, and the employee kept quiet all of the time, and almost maybe 1.5 or 2 minutes completely silent, and he's only listening to the guy. And after that, he started to hug him. It
Uh,
was Wallahi, after that, calm down, silence, and after that, nothing happened, or yani the relaxing started to be all in the place, actually, from getting to know, or to feel what the others feeling, or being empathetic, like mentioned here by Coach Muhammad. So it was amazing. So what you are mentioning now regarding knowing and be aware actually about others people, and the personality, facial expressions, gestures, body language, what they are saying, that all should tell us how to deal after that.
exactly. Yeah, that's a beautiful story.
Yes, amazing. Type. Basim is saying that what practical practices help a leader build a human connection with the team without compromising professionalism and seriousness.
Awesome. That's a great question. It's a big misconception again that being charismatic in, let's say, a workplace sense means just being friends with your
Friendly.
employees, your colleagues, and not being professional anymore. But it can actually help a lot in increasing revenue, increasing productivity. Vanessa Van Edwards puts it best, which is charisma is the perfect blend of being warm and also competent at the same time, which means once you balance being, let's say, approachable, being friendly, being someone that people can come and talk to, as well as being, having that authority, being good at what you do, actually being, suitable for the job, that perfect blend is what gets you the best results. Because most people nowadays at work, they tilt to one or the others. Me, for example, I used to always be more on like the friendly side, like I would be too friendly and not show as much authority. Some people are the opposite. They have a lot of authority. They're so great at what they do, but then they wonder, why doesn't my team trust me? Why doesn't my team come to me with their problems? Why are they afraid of giving me feedback? It's because you need to have that perfect balance in the middle. And this is what doesn't compromise professionalism and seriousness. And that's how you can get the best results.
Wow. Most of the people actually, confuse between being aggressive and being assertive. I
Mm.
believe that there is no any conflict between being assertive and have the charismatic as well also, and communicate in the professional way required at the workplace.
Yeah, for sure. You definitely don't have to be aggressive at
Yes.
all to get your point across. And since Basim also was asking for practical tips, I mean, literally the simplest one would be smile more. It's so simple, but your employees come in, say hi to them, smile, have open body language. When you're, let's say, sitting in a meeting, show that they have your attention. And then, again, you balance it out by being really good at what you do, calling the shots when it's necessary, giving honest feedback. It's always kind of that balance that helps a lot.
Amazing. Right. Now, what we can say about tips and the tricks to change or to keep any meeting or any presentation a chance to influence others.
Hmm. Awesome. That's a great question.
This one to everybody, not only in the sales team, but to
Mhm.
everyone. Maybe someone presenting the project progress presentation, for instance, to the client, or
Mm,
someone who's negotiating with supplier or vendor,
mm,
or someone trying to inspect some completed work with the consultant. Whatever what we are doing,
mm,
how to go to influence others around us.
got it. That's a really good one. A lot of people, whenever they have a presentation or a speech, they focus a lot on the slides themselves, the content, kind of the organization, and they don't focus enough on how you actually present it. I mean, in the beginning, we did do the two examples of, the crazy idea and then the boring idea. Don't underestimate how much your presentation and your delivery can actually impact what people think of it. I mean, I don't remember the specific statistic, but it said that um, great communicators who have a really good pitch are a lot more likely to get funded if they're raising money than people who just go with a boring, flat pitch. So focus on how you present it, as well as kind of the order. Maybe you can start with the most, um, always have rhetorical questions, always have hooks and punchy lines. The moment someone feels like your speech is predictable or they know what you're about to say next, that's when they kind of zone out. You lose their attention, they start going on their phones. So always have hooks, rhetorical questions, always kind of change your tones, change your cadence, have expressions to really draw them back in. And if you want them to end it with being influential and have them do what you want, you can't just go and make a request immediately. You need to actually prime them for it and put them in a position where they almost are deprived of your solution. This happens a lot when people present at, let's say, pitching events, networking events. They always go around and say, for example, hey, I own a marketing agency, I can help you with XYZ. And yeah, you can still get people to do what you want and kind of be influential with that. But you get so much more when you can, first of all, prime people before making that request. And you do this through two ways. The first one being, talk about the pain points that that person might be struggling with right now. So let's say I'm presenting a client pitch. I want them to invest in, let's say, career coaching. So I would say something along the lines of, okay, so pain points. Do you right now, you might, let's say, be feeling stuck. You might be thinking, what am I doing wrong? I'm really good at my job, but I'm not sure why other people are making more than me, even though I think I'm more qualified than them. So you really put them in that position where they're thinking, oh my, I really
Yeah.
relate to all of these things. And then after that, once you really put them in that position where you really dig into the pain points and you put them in a position where they're thinking, they really understand me, then you talk about the dream outcome. So then you would say something like, now let's forget this for a minute. Imagine if you can go to any room and be, a professional, be someone who can speak confidently, who can convince people, be an authority in your career. Then it takes them from, that really low point that you kind of put them in to that high point of them imagining the outcome and what they can achieve next. And once you put it in this order in any presentation, once you make a call to action, which is, talk to me after my speech, go to this link, apply below, the conversion rate is going to be a lot better just because you prime people before making that request.
Wow, amazing. Yes, I'd like to say thank you to Ms. Sahar Abdel Karim. Thank you so much for your time and for joining us today. Nawal, for me, on the personal level, sales job uh, is the most challenging job in the world, actually, under
Mm,
pressure all of the time, targets, deadlines, it's very, very, very challenging. If we
yeah.
can, we can talk a little bit about the skills required or should be acquired by the people who are going to work in sales team. What is the set of skills you recommend?
Mm-hmm. I would say one of the most important ones is being resilient because, sometimes things might not go as planned. You might be chasing a deal for weeks, months, and then at the end, it just, breaks down and you just think, did I spend all that time on a deal that was never going to close? It can really take a mental toll on you. So be resilient and always look at the data. It's kind of easy to maybe sometimes get emotional. I fall into this too, where I just think, what even is the point? This is really difficult sometimes, but just look at the data. Record every call that you have and listen back to, the kind of order of the sales call. I mean, did you have them admit to the problem? Did you talk about the maybe things that they've tried? Did you preempt all the objections before they come up, or did you let them ruin the sale at the end? So watch back your sales calls and always look at what you can do better in the sales call itself, but also how can we improve the show rate? How can we make sure that if let's say we have to follow up for some reason, how do we make more people respond to us? So look at the data and see where your biggest bottleneck is, be it show rate, close rate, people not responding, and then from there kind of work backwards on your skills. Once you really take accountability and you think, okay, this is something I can fix, you look at things objectively, it becomes a lot better, because then it just becomes something that's in your control rather than, the market is bad right now, or, people just don't want to buy, anything like that.
Yes, okay, I see. But it's still, I believe that the sales team members should, should have special and a very strong personality, so they can ahead. Since most of the departments in the company actually depending on those people.
Yeah.
If this team is great, that means we will be all good. The remaining only will be operation and implementation, and I think it's the easiest part.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's not easy at all. I mean, having to show up on calls, having to have energy all the time, it definitely is not easy.
Yes, that is right. Also, there is a question from Basim stating that he's saying last question: how does a leader behavior under pressure or during failure affect the team's trust in itself and its ability to maintain presence and influence? Wow, it's amazing, actually. Very good question.
Really great question. Yeah, for sure. This is something I talk about all the time, how being a charismatic leader definitely affects the performance of your employees as well. If you're under pressure, if something goes wrong, your team is looking at your reaction to see what to do next. Let's say, I'll give you an example. You launch a project and it completely fails. It doesn't go as planned. Maybe people don't buy. No one's interested in it. If the leader comes in yelling, telling everyone, why is this happening? This is horrible. This is bad performance. It puts everyone in a really negative mood. And then it builds that kind of resentment. And then the team feels like they're misunderstood. It feels like their efforts were not acknowledged. It feels like, they want to quit. They don't even want to be a part of this team anymore. But that same scenario, let's say a failure happens. If the leader is calm under pressure during failure, they come and they talk about it objectively. Let's say we did not hit the numbers that we wanted to hit this month. This is the reason. This happened because of XYZ. This is what we can do next time. I see, the efforts you've been putting, but quite frankly, this is something that you can also do better. Kind of delegate and be calm and assign people and really guide them to know what to do next. The performance improves a lot. Because it's easy to yell, it's easy to get mad, it's easy to just point fingers and blame people. But what's really difficult is, maintaining that calm and being able to be kind of in the eye of the storm and direct your team. Because at the end of the day, they're depending on you. When you are calm, they will be calm and they will look to your reaction to see what to do next.
I believe also, if a leader behavior under pressure get out of control and out of mood and started to make whatever we see from time to time, unfortunately, in the workplace, it doesn't mean the leadership style is appropriate, or it will help the team actually to get further. So calmness and thinking in a good mood, getting the inputs, trying to find alternatives and solutions. I believe that is a good way to go ahead.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because some people argue and they say, okay, but let's say when I yell or when I'm angry, people do the work faster. But then again, they're working from a point of fear, like they're just afraid of, let's say, losing their jobs. But they're not in a position where, let's say, they're dedicated to the company and they really want to make a difference. When you put them in a position where they are loyal to you, they love the mission, you don't even have to convince them to work. They want to impress you themselves. But when you have to lead through, again, being aggressive, being kind of, having all this authority through yelling and abusing your power, yeah, short term, people might do what you want, but then they are going to want to quit. Behind your back, they might not even support you. The moment that your competitor gives them an opportunity, they will take it in a heartbeat because they
Yes, sure.
don't want to, be a part of the team. So creating that loyalty really comes from treating people like human beings, treating them in a way that you want to be treated.
I totally agree. There is another amazing question by Mudathir is saying that can a team's charisma decline and how can we prevent it? Sometimes you start to acquire team members and team members joining the team, and they are coming with full of energy, motivated, and they are willing to make everything in the project or in the work. And step by step, you feel that the energy is going to be down, and they are not motivated anymore. How can we save that? How can we keep our energy and keep our team energy as well?
Yeah, that's a really great question. Even though to me, I feel like charisma, once it becomes a trait, it just becomes a part of your personality almost. It still takes a lot of effort, especially if you come into work and you're tired or, sales are slow, things are not as expected. You really feel that charisma and motivation declining. A great way to prevent it would be to remind yourselves of the goals. I mean, everyone in business goes through hard times, but just remember that these hard times are the ones that at the end of the day will be the ones to build you and your team. As a leader, your job is to constantly remind your team of the mission, remind them of the goals. The way I like to think of it is almost like a pyramid, and the leader at the top, your energy pours down to your team members. So if you don't come in with energy, how can you expect your employees to have more energy than you do? You should always be the one setting that standard, coming in with high energy, motivating them. If something goes wrong, helping them fix it, helping them, guide them through it, and just showing them that it's, at the end of the day, it's fine and it's something that can be fixed. And if they make a mistake, again, guiding them through the solutions. But as long as the leader themselves, you come in with all of that energy, your team is going to feel it. And if your energy is not, at the maximum, your team can feel it as well, even if you try to hide it.
Wow, amazing. Nawal, really, I enjoyed the discussion, but I have left one question only. If we can, end the session with what advice does Nawal have for leaders to help their teams grow and be more influential?
That's a lovely question. I would say having a culture that really encourages feedback and allows people to communicate and talk about what they think. Because when you kind of have your team walking on eggshells around you, they're nervous to say the truth, a lot of things might go lost. And in the long term, you will lose out on a lot of things because you're not listening to your team. So instead of, let's say, giving people titles and these specific people only having the influence and advantage, just have it be like an open floor where everyone's welcome to communicate their opinion. And instead of only rewarding people for, let's say, closing a deal or doing, getting money in, also reward them for getting to the right direction. And again, it goes back to, helping, motivate them, come with energy, have it be a space where people can come and talk about how they feel, and also, guide them into what they can do next. That would be the best way to maintain motivation and also have a lot of success.
Yes. Noel, thank you so much. Thank you for your presence, for the amazing thoughts and ideas you have presented today. I'm sure that it will, the episode is going to be a reference for many professionals when they are, getting to the charisma and mastering the communication skill.
Oh, absolutely. I had so much fun. This was so lovely. Thanks a lot. And for everyone who commented as well, it made it super engaging.
Thanks a lot. Thank you so much, Noel. I would like to say thank you to everyone who attended this session and being with us until this moment. Inshallah, seeing you at the same time next week. Next time we are going to discuss about very important topic to the professional regarding artificial intelligence and what its effect on the productivity on daily basis with engineer Muhammad Abdulati. Thank you so much, and see you next week at the same time.